So I feel I need to talk again because I'm in a really panic state and it's been bothering me all day pretty much. I'm starting to get some sort of trauma from going into all these sort of politics and war and genocide. It's becoming a bit too much. The discussion really is about how YouTube and also just algorithms in general are just bad. I've noticed this in toxic, let's call it TikTok, ironically toxic. Uh, there's so much going on around the world, and it leaves me thinking, like, is the world ending? Like, we're just seeing it unfold before our very eyes. Like, what's going to happen next? Is it cyber warfare, chemical warfare, like what? And the way I see it as well, with all the problems we have inside our societies, we literally can't be willing to even do anything about these problems elsewhere because nobody's happy, and it's very much the case that again salience seems to do all the talking rather than actual evidence and professionals. There's no standards anymore. It's sickening. So yeah, it leaves me worried and it leaves me slightly scared for the future. So yeah, let's start with YouTube, which really I've been on this platform for I'd say like since 2008 and around like 2014, 2015 when they had like a big overhaul, maybe 2013 actually. It's a bit weird. People weren't keen on the overhaul they had, and honestly, the like dislike system is better than the star rating system we used to have. I remember that, believe it or not, because the star rating system was just terrible to look at. It just didn't accurately portray anything. So yeah, that's good. That's cool. But then we also got changes to like the algorithm and also UI in massive ways, and eventually it just got worse and worse. Now, I missed the 2020s, was it? And we started to see COVID and an uptick in short form videos, mainly starting with TikTok, which I'll go on to later. We see the algorithm games essentially being played, and this means that content will be more catered to your interest, and well, there's good and bad about this. Actually, I've got an interesting sort of thing from this. Holy crap! Oh wow, that's interesting. Um, yeah, so the recommendation system is a complete mess because it even recommends things that you're not going to watch. I've seen several like short form videos and the recommended, and they're just not interesting to me. Like, fuck off. If I'm not going to click them when I see them, don't show them. So it's already a broken system. Same with recommendations in general. Like, holy crap, it's fucking annoying. But as if that wasn't bad enough, the homepage, which shows you pretty much recommended videos all the time, every time you refresh it, and annoyingly you can't go back to see if you missed one. But there's sometimes that case where I see a video I want to watch and then I forget. So I just instinctively click away and then I wanted to watch that. I'm lucky if I can remember it. I can now, actually, no, I'm off the meds, but still. I'm just lucky if I can remember this shit, and that's really the problem with the system. It needs to refresh, like, not necessarily daily. Daily, I mean, every time you refresh, I mean, it could refresh like every hour. And really, there should be a refresh button so you get different recommendations instead of bar at the top. But now they do the dumbest shit possible and just don't. Um, it's just absolutely horrifically designed. It's just not good. But eventually, I got into politics, and thing around that. I was looking into the topic and trying to understand that as best as I can, and I did sort of understand most of it, really enough, even though I have no experience in it. So that was always something, and yeah. Why is that guy see-through? Hang on, what? No, it's just a bug. Wait, they are actually see-through. What the fuck? Okay. What the hell? Okay, that's unexpected. Anyway. So, yeah, like, it's weird. I got into politics and looking into UK stuff because this is where it all started, really. When I saw these flags around again, like a few Wednesdays ago now, I was confused. I thought it was a World Cup, naturally, because that's when people put them out. Turns out it wasn't. And it's actually essentially patriotism masking racism. So it means that the flag has racist intent, and that's why people don't feel comfortable around it and why it is being critiqued. And they respond something like, oh, you don't like our own country hanging up our own flags? Yeah, we don't. It's literally implied racism because of what it's been associated with and what it's been linked to. It's literally that case, and I'm yet to see even a case of people hanging it up as a form of patriotism, like, oh, I'm proud of this country. But even then, it's still a fucking stain on not only just UK but humanity, especially when the country's in so much trouble at the moment. And so also today we got like some of the worst news we could ever get. Strangely enough, at the same time as a emergency alert, test, not an actual emergency alert. We got news that fucking Israeli leader is coming here. Great. No wonder a bunch of people are being arrested because they're literally fucking planning on being a war criminal. So that shows you how bad the UK has gotten. Not only are we dealing with the immigrant crisis, we're dealing with people trying to help Gaza, very justifiably so. It's a complete fucking mess, and as I said, all of this sort of linked to each other. Because once I was informed about, obviously, the immigration stuff, trying to find like evidence of it, of this being a fact, and I couldn't find any truths that said like, oh, the majority of crime here is done by immigrants. So there's no ground to stand on. Where if there were, I would side with you. I won't be racist, but I'd be like, oh, we just need to address these people, and potentially deport them. Like, it depends. But we're not really. Nobody's actually seeing that, and it fucking sucks. And somehow I ended up getting into other world politics. Like, I was into the sort of Trump politics before, the US Trump politics, there's various things. Interested in the Epstein files because holy shit, that's a clusterfuck. We finally got the missing minute, and it didn't reveal too much, surprisingly. It just revealed cards going to the cell, and that implies something happened there. So it's bizarre. S-Rinks, let's go there. Oh, fuck, I forgot the name of it. Oh, bad memory. Yeah, I'll go into that, and suddenly I got recommended stuff about the wars around the world. At first it was the Gaza stuff, because I was looking into finding a way to support people in Palestine, because I was aware of like the genocides and stuff, and the protests, and I did my research, and holy crap, it was worse than I could ever imagine. And it was so bad that I ended up finding like real footage of like the front lines for like service workers for people even just being there. And at the same time I got into TikTok, which I sort of regret. But it's mainly for the UK stuff. And the UK stuff frustrates me because I kept getting recommended a mix of both, which is fair for like bias, but the problem is these are all like drastically putting things out of proportion. It wasn't like one-sided, it was like complete bullshit on one side and absolute truth on the other. Again, I can easily be convinced, but I'm not convinced by this. So that really shows how bad the algorithm is there. And if it's not obviously getting me to change, like, what's the fucking point? At this point, there's nothing that can convince me. So, yeah, I've essentially given in and said, there's no changing this. There's no point. So it's weird. And then eventually I got recommended a video from Gaza. I think it was like the first one actually. It was unfortunately of a dad and his two children. It's still really upsetting to think about. They're obviously just in their apartment minding their business and there's suddenly gunfire all around. And you know, one kid is crying, the other's quite brave. The father's not exactly sure what to do. It's really traumatising. That was on TikTok. And it's fine to show this stuff. I think everyone needs to see it. It's that sort of thing, even if you're going to be upset. Just remember that this is a reality, and if you ever fucking dare think that somehow it's not an issue, you need to watch that. That's literally why I think it should be mandatory to expose yourself to actual footage of this shit. You may be traumatised, but again, you're in a situation where you can forget that at some point. Which again is sad, but again, when this stuff pops up, you'll remember it and you'll realise, oh, it's actually really horrific and we need to do something. Which is why I say it's mandatory. So, yeah, I kept getting recommended the same things over and over again. It's like, it's not teaching me anything anyway. Which is annoying. I just feel like it's a really bad algorithm when it's getting recommended both sides, and some just obviously bad and more bad than others. And eventually it also recommended me more other important things. I would say more important, but other important things, because these are all pretty much linked, about women, their stories about other domestic abuse victims or crimes committed against them, sharing their story, and people of colour as well, also sharing their story, because of various things that have happened recently as well. And it's been interesting, but again, the algorithm isn't always that great, so it's been a mixed bag, and it's been equal parts frustrating as well. What's putting out Lanifer? Yeah, and that's all leads into how I got into the Ukraine stuff as well, because I was quite interested in knowing how that all was going myself, because it seemed like, well, a few years ago I was thinking, it was quite scary going to war with Russia, and I did some research as well. Like, I made sure that I was getting all of the facts and stuff, like what's the chances of winning, and it turns out very high. So it's very high that we can win against Russia. You know, as people who are not Russian, I mean, in Europe and stuff, like, we pretty much outweigh them in both quantity and quality, which is quite refreshing. It's definitely good to hear, and obviously I appreciate all the brave people out there fighting for us. That's definitely something I couldn't do, pretty much thanks to sensory issues. Yeah, of course, I appreciate it. But, like, the algorithm is weird again, because this is primarily on YouTube, but I get recommended all these sorts of videos where it's either body cam footage or discussions, and discussions started out fine, but then I got into the body cam footage and it's just sort of started getting darker in that sense. it felt very uncomfortable because it was essentially a case of, oh, um, like there's people dying here for some reason they seem to. I don't know why. Like, you already know they're dead. Like, it's quite a dark situation, and especially if you've been exposed to that before, like I have as well. I've seen other war footage and other sort of just real life deaths and stuff. I've seen people drown as well. It's really horrific. And those sort of things don't really leave you. And I'll say this, like, for anyone who hasn't actually seen someone die, it's like the scariest part is really seeing someone go from life to lifeless. It's like the stillness of the body, and you can immediately sense the cold. There's nobody in there anymore. It's really fucking terrifying. It's like existential anxiety. And it's one of those things where I don't know how people in wars are actually able to cope with that. Not even just killing someone. So, as you can imagine, when I've seen all this footage, it's like I come out of it thinking it's great that Ukrainians are doing a good job here. They're not only killing the Russians who are also causing problems, but they're also saving the ones who don't want to cause problems, and that's great. And one of the soldiers' own words, they say, "We're not like you." That's why they essentially capture them and have taken them in as prisoners of war, or sometimes just rehabilitate them. I think is one of the stories I've heard, and even get a perspective as well. Like you see sometimes that these Russian soldiers can sometimes confess and talk about things that they've done, or even just say that Russia's a propaganda machine. It's like it's nothing to really be worried about if you're not Russian. It is something to worry about if you are Russian, obviously, because it's just propaganda. And yeah, those sort of things stick with you, but also the actual killings and stuff. One of the things my dad sort of always taught me anyway is that guns are made to kill, and yeah, like I think the more and more I hear about it, and I've even heard like arguments for self-defense with guns, and I don't really agree with it because guns are obviously there to kill someone quickly, and also it's all well and good. How do you justify that with self-defense? Because if your intent is to defend yourself, why then are you risking killing someone? It begs a question of what else could you do? Well, there has to be a better solution because that is just stupid. And frankly, it's just dumb. It's just absolutely callous as well. Because, you never know, you could be shooting someone's son, daughter, father, or even mother. Like, it really depends. There's different situations, and it's hard to be empathetic towards someone who's obviously about to harm you. At the same time, everyone's human, and we need to be mindful of that. If you can get them to surrender, obviously, and get them on their knees, talk to them for police arrival, and you might be able to get to the bottom of something that you might find there's actually a reason why they did this, and you could actually possibly help them, like this sort of thing. It's often not as simple as that, but it's something that obviously needs to be talked about. Yeah, anyway, I was always taught that guns were bad, and in general, I just didn't know what to think. But I do think there are uses, obviously, now, and I've actually thought about this myself. One of the final things I think I'll talk about here. I keep thinking about what I would do if I was a politician and essentially running a country. I'll do my best to establish equal rights for people and obviously base it in truth, root it in truth, and get the relevant experts on the topics. And for people who actually pose obviously harm to these fucking ideas, like actually trying to get rid of truth, then I think those people need to face repercussions. I'm not gonna lie. It's really dangerous, like free speech is all well and good, but if you're actually causing actions and doing real world harm, I'd argue that's not free speech, it's just violence. It's a bit like what RFK Jr. is doing at the moment in the US and dismantling the CDC. It's literally violence, and it's literally going to be a genocide because you're literally depriving people of actual scientific data and instead putting your own ideas there without actually reading into it. You don't have any fucking. I don't think anyway that RF Kennedy whatever has any doctorate. I don't think they have any knowledge on it. So why the hell are they there? And that's the sort of thing I'd look out for. I'd be careful, and also I'll actually punish corruption. I'll actually put people in prison for being corrupt because it's fucking insane how dangerous that is. People really underestimate. You think, oh, they just take bribes and that's it. But they do more than that. They're told not to do certain things. There can be even a target on their head, I think. It's not out of the realm of possibility. And that's why it's really a terrible crime. Whereas if they don't take their money and just ignore them, like that's not really risk taking. It's still a tiny bit of risk, but even then, you should do the right thing just for doing the right thing, even if there is a target on your head at the end of the day, which I know that I would have if I was running a country. And one of the things also when doing myself is use my own payment to make me live in luxury. You know, I wouldn't buy fucking 10 electric cars or anything. I'd actually funnel that money back into the community whilst also keeping myself safe and happy. And I'd obviously get basic luxuries, but not the, I wouldn't say advanced ones, but more expensive ones. I don't need a fucking butler. I don't need someone to, assuming I have kids at the time, but someone to take my kids to school. I don't need anything like that. Like, it's one of those things where I throw away luxury just so I can focus on the people and interact with the community, get to know what people's problems are, and I'll do the same with people who are like Christian. I'll do the same with Muslims. I'll do the same with any person of any religion, walk of life, and I'd even talk to criminals. Like that's one of the things I'll do. It's about understanding people, finding what obviously makes them click, but also what breaks them, and that's important. And I don't want anyone to be broken, to feel unsafe. And I literally want a world of peace. The only problem is that you can't trust other countries to do the same, to follow suit. So what I've actually figured out that I'd end up doing is essentially making one of the strongest, strictest armies probably out there, where I'd actually prioritise gaining as much intelligence as possible and as many sort of arms as possible. Again, quality over quantity. A peaceful world needs a defender because it's otherwise open to attack. So that's really my rationale behind that. And obviously I'd tax the billionaires, that's one of the most important things as well, and give that back to the community. I suppose another thing I'd do as well is actually benefit people by adding more stricter sort of safety standards. So legalise drugs, but only medically. I'd tax alcohol a lot more because that causes so many problems, and it's not really a personal bias thing. It's more like the evidence points to this being a problem, like more accidents caused by drunk drivers rather than drug takers. That sort of thing. I think that's even backed up by percentages rather than actual numbers. Someone's playing the Mario theme in the background here. Yeah, so essentially taking a look at the root cause of the problem and addressing it professionally. I'd have a board of people who are not motivated by money, but rather the good of the people, and I'd also make sure there's a diversity as well. So we have not only like just male doctors, but also female doctors and black doctors, and anyone of a different race, different language even. So there's more input, and it's not just one-sided like the fucking RFK Jr. crap is, where he decides everything. I want it decided by multiple doctors with multiple backgrounds. Like, it's not a simple matter. But again, I want actual safety for people and want the best quality of life there is. And the other thing, I guess, is like taxing meat as well, meat consumption, because that's a big problem with animal products as well. It's not an easy thing to address either, given climate issues, but we need to address that urgently. Stop the world from burning. So cutting emissions, funding sort of electric vehicles, I guess, is like one of the things. And eventually demolishing the commonality, at least, of animal farms. Because unfortunately you need to keep a few just in case, because yeah, as a vegan it disgusts me, but until we synthesise the things that certain animals provide, it's like it's not exactly easy to dismantle the entire thing. Quite like lab-grown meat, lab-grown bones even. There's different things for this and that. Lab-grown intestines, like there's many different things. And I feel that's important to acknowledge. It's about not being that biased, it's about being truthful. So the other thing I was going to say about that taxing meat, eventually phasing it out, like by shutting down farms, obviously, and focusing on actual plant agriculture. But not only that, just also managing to feed parts of the world as well, like do an actual charity effort, like put the tax dollars or pounds, whatever, to a good cause. Give it back to the community first, obviously, but then give it back to others. And also, there's another thing. YouTube leads me down some interesting places sometimes, but the what is it? Fuck, what it's called. Housing First. That's it. I forgot where it was. It's either Sweden or Finland, but one of them managed to implement that, and they essentially get people off the street and into apartments, and then into jobs and rehabilitation if they're struggling. And it's really fascinating. But that model seems like it would work in Western world, like really well. It's interesting, and I'll definitely put that as a system that's sort of mandatory across the entire country. It's about benefiting people, good quality of life, and essentially if your country ends up being like one of the happiest in the world, then I'm pretty sure you've done a good job. But that's pretty much my aim for it, and yeah, it's a bit, I don't know, like, it's definitely a dream. It's not something I don't think I ever see myself achieving. But at least if I get these ideas out there, people might actually begin to care. Like, I want to see people sort of adopt my ideology and see that you have to have good intentions and not be corrupt or biased. And yeah, like, actually follow through with ideas. And make it a strong country and a happy country. That's simple as that. But I also want to make it so it's like survival of the fittest, but I'm discriminating against like disability or race or gender. I would actively put money into like funding actual women's rights stuff. It could be like, for example, like a biological thing like tampons or even pregnancies, and having workplaces actually pay them for work, even if they are off work, because of that very thing, whether it's pregnancy or periods or whatever. But nobody deserves to be discriminated for being a woman, like, as simple as that. The same with like trans, like LGBTQ+. There's so many different things here, and even disability. Well, I'd consider like a mandatory sort of diversity in a sense, like not necessarily making things woke, even though people don't know what that actually means. But it's like getting plenty of different backgrounds and people talking to each other, so that there is like a case of people can understand and improvise and stuff. Like, God, I'm talking a lot now. Yeah, I probably should get back on topic, but it's just my ideal sort of world leader stuff. It's interesting, I think. Definitely open to changes here and there. But I think the point of this was saying that I'm not exactly happy with sort of what I've gotten into at the moment. Because as much as I admit that we need to stand up and take back government essentially, because of the corruption, like wherever it is, one of my bigger worries actually is just trying to get over the sort of dark side that I've just gone into about the world. Seeing children starving and dying and stuff is like, it's really horrific. Even just normal people, it's just too much. It's one of those things that I wouldn't really wish on anyone, but at the same time, it's like, how else do we address this sort of thing? There's quite a lot of worries in the world too. It's not just restricted to the UK, obviously, and obviously the wars here, but there's plenty of others. Yeah, so I don't really know what else to say here. I guess something needs to change with the algorithm. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to say. I started to use the not interested part only a few moments ago for the YouTube homepage, and it sort of immediately worked, which surprised me. It basically started recommending me war stuff now, like entirely. Still got the Trump stuff because I haven't ignored that. I've actually stopped having channels be recommended because they, for some reason, like clickbait, like they keep titling their stuff like "Oh, Trump in panic now," and the only proof of that is a fucking tweet, which doesn't convey panic. Like, I get it, the guy's a fucking dick and he needs to get out of presidency immediately. But, come on, like, you're doing clickbait and it's not even news. And then you look at the channel's sort of history and it's like, oh, they upload every fucking 4 hours. And they're uploading 4 times a day. Like, oh, okay. Not as much as I agree with your points, I don't agree with this sort of channel style, this video style. So I'm not really looking for those videos anymore. There's very few that I will, but even then it's just a bit risky. So what's this? Navarro Media protest. Apparently they've arrested 1/3 of approximately 1,500 protesters protesting for against the Palestinian action thing. Yeah, it's bizarre. The UK is just fucking. It's just so stupid. Like we're literally turning into a dictatorship at this point. It's kind of scary. The surveillance as well. But again, this is like why I didn't really want to get into politics. It's like, oh, that's why. It not only frustrates me, but it can traumatize me as well. Great. So I'm gonna try and calm down with animal videos and stuff and fun live streams. So yeah, thanks for listening. And see people another time.